every spoken word, what your soul has longed for, what your heart can feel is already here, is already real.
There is no one out there, there is no one else. You hold all the answers deep inside of yourself. There's a voice that whispers, there's no you, no me. There's just one, there's just unity.
One power, one presence, one light to lead the way. All loving, all knowing, that answers when you pray.
When the world looks darkest and your eyes can see, gather all your troubles, give them all to me. I am always with you, I will always be. I am one, I am unity. We are one, we are unity.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Unity of Ventura's online Sunday service. My name is Sherry Lieberg. I am not with the Beatles. However, I will be your hostess this morning. And let me extend a heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you for following the call of your heart to join us this morning. What we do on Sunday mornings is very magical. When we come together in one mind, one heart, one consciousness, something special happens. Our purpose in doing so is to know the truth for one another, to hold the high watch for one another, to offer that support. And when we come together doing that, magic happens. And so please know that your presence and your consciousness are so appreciated and so important. Let's take a moment now to remember who we are at Unity of Ventura. Unity of Ventura is a radiating center of spiritual well-being. We are the home of the most talented and gifted music team. We are a sought-after venue for guest speakers around the country to deliver the most inspiring and uplifting sermons. And we are a spiritual role model for other churches on how to do community. Even though we're still 1 year later at home, not meeting in person, we use technology to transcend the shackles of time and space to come together in one mind and one heart. The mission here at Unity is to provide a loving and accepting environment that inspires personal and spiritual growth through the practice of Christ principles, unity principles in our daily lives, as taught by our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Here at Unity, we are the most open, the most inclusive, the most come as you are kind of church you're ever going to find. We welcome people of all upbringings, all backgrounds, all religious faiths and traditions, all ways of thinking, all employment status. We don't care. We want you to come out and hang out with us. And that is why we are called Unity. So, let's take this experience of oneness and of unity to a deeper level now as we go into prayer. Sweet Spirit, we just take this moment to rest in your love and your light, and to align ourselves with your guidance and infinite wisdom. As we turn inward and just allow that clear, calming presence to fill us, we then open our minds and our hearts to your blessings, dear God. We remember the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind produce after their own kind. That which we focus on grows in our lives. And so, focused on our unity with one another and with God, we now extend a blessing to one another, to our community, and to our entire world. United in consciousness, we give great thanks in advance for today's lesson that galvanizes our spiritual growth, for the wonderful music that's going to tickle us and uplift us, and for that amazing spiritual family whose love and support and prayers sustain us. For this and all our blessings, we give great thanks. And so it is. Amen. Let's continue now with the reading of the daily word, remembering that we are joining millions of readers of the daily word all over the world. Today's daily word comes to us from December 28th, 1944. World War II had been raging for 6 long years, and the Battle of the Bulge was underway. The world was weary and needed direction out of the trauma that is war. And so the word says, today's word is guidance. The affirmation is, I set God before me this day to guide, to govern, to protect, to bless me, and to prosper me. Now, how do we set God before us? By giving God first place in our thoughts and our hearts. So let us say, God first. I set God before me this day. This day, I will put God first. I will look to God's Spirit within me when I need help, rather than to my own limited personal understanding. I set God before me this day to guide me. No matter where I go or what I do this day, I will walk with sureness. I will act with confidence, for God is my guide. I set God before me this day to govern me. I will not take the burden upon myself for making things right in my life or in the world. I will trust God to govern all things with divine justice and righteousness. I will set God before me this day to protect me. I have faith in God's all-encompassing love to guard me against danger or the fear of danger. I set God before me this day to bless me and prosper me. With God first in my life, I am fearless and free. I am blessed in my relations and dealings with other people. I am prospered in all that I put my hand to. Today's daily word was inspired by John chapter 16, verse 13, which says, "He shall guide you into all the truth." The word for today is guidance. The affirmation for today is, I set God before me this day to guide, to govern, to protect, to bless, and to prosper me. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God.
Morning sun coming through the trees, the green leaves shimmer in the summer breeze, the songbirds singing to the honeybees, living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. After the dazzle of day is done, the moon makes love to the setting sun. The stars come twinkling one by one, living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We sleep in dreams, both deep and bright, sailing through the velvet night, refreshing the soul to the spirit's delight, living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living,
Let's continue now with our statement of faith. I'll say it once and then ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God the Good. Together, there is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God the Good. Let's prepare now for a time of quiet contemplation. Find a comfortable position and just take a few deep breaths, opening your mind and your heart to these words, allowing them to be your own. Today, I put God first in my life. Today, I call on God first, no matter what the need. Today, I seek God at the beginning of each day and at the first indication of any need. When I put God first, each day I accomplish all that I long to accomplish with ease and efficiency. Whatever is happening in my life, today I turn to God first and rest knowing that all is well. And for just a moment, I invite you to go deeper. Just go a little deeper and rest in the love of God. Opening your mind and your heart and your spirit. Truly letting God be first in all ways in your life. Oh, sweet Spirit, thank you for this time resting in your presence, in your love, in your peace. Thank you for the opportunity to align more fully with you and for your constant guidance that helps us remember to turn to you first. It's time now to return your awareness back to the here and now, back to this time and place, feeling refreshed and renewed as we affirm, so it is and so we let it be. Amen. And now it is my delight to welcome our guest speaker, the Reverend Paula Swavely. Reverend Paula has been a fairly regular speaker with us in the last year. She was ordained in the Center for Spiritual Living, and she's run churches in Ventura as well as Orange County. She's back in Ventura now, and every time she speaks to us, she leaves the congregation with little nuggets that we can examine and gain more value, more insight, more wisdom. I am delighted to welcome, so please join your virtual hands together in welcoming Reverend Paula Swavely.
Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Ventura. Gosh, have we ever been on Mr. Hatter's wild ride this past year? And here we are, Palm Sunday, getting ready for Easter, and it's different. The truth is, it's always different. The truth is, every year is different than the year before. So we've had a year that made things very, very different than the year before, but it's all in the life of the one God, the one power, the one presence, as it manifests individually and uniquely and comes out as a new year, a new human being, every opportunity that it can create itself anew. This is a new thought spiritual community, and that is what we believe. We believe that God created everything out of itself. God plus 0 equals God. So all of God's creation are manifestations of that one power and presence, unique and different because God is individualized throughout all of life. We are not all that God is, but all that I am is God. And that I am is the word for God that Moses received on the mountain. So in this time, we're talking about journeying because Jesus traveled into Jerusalem. Jerusalem, according to Charles Fillmore, is the state of spiritual consciousness. And the New Jerusalem is when we travel into that awareness, that peace, and that understanding together and collectively, where we join with other like-minded people to live in peace and grace and wisdom and harmony. But that journey is turning away from the world of appearances, away from events, activities, away from memory, away from attachment and expectation, and dropping into Christ consciousness, that consciousness which is connected to the source, that consciousness that was not born into this body but is forever and ever evolving and manifesting itself through every opening in life. So our journey is about understanding that opening, that place to allow the peace that passes human understanding, the grace, the wisdom, the divine presence to fill our being. That is a turning away from appearances, as I said. It's a turning within and turning our consciousness up. This morning's lesson is for the love of God. For the love of God. For the love of God. Because for the love of God, we are able to come from that place Jesus taught us. He who sent us is here with us, moving through us. So when we look to Jesus's journey at this time of year, whether we're Christian or have Christian heritage, or whether we're pagan, or whether we're Jewish, or whether we're Islamic, Hindu, Buddhist. All the major traditions are understanding that this is a precious time of year. This is a time of year of journeying. Oh, my fun story is I have 3 rose bushes. And so I read about when to prune them, and I was very careful about pruning them. I watched a number of YouTube videos about how to do it because I want to do it right. The greatest permission was a little tagline on one of the videos that said, "You can't hurt them, they love to be cut." I've been out every day to watch to see what's happening, and 2 of them have little buds all over them, and one of them looks like sticks. So the one that looks like sticks, I got so worried about, I cut the tips off each of the sticks after they've already been pruned, just to see if what was in the stick was green. It is. Ye of little faith. Don't you know? God says to each of us, I've got this. I'm in charge. You can be of grace. You can be of faith. But you can't make buds come out of the rose bush. So what we're celebrating this time of year is the reawakening of all of life. We are celebrating the bursting forth of spring. We're celebrating the journey of Jesus into Jerusalem, where he made a big splash and a lot of noise about his journey. He could have sulked in quietly and not brought so much attention to himself. But instead, he made a big splash and a lot of people knew that he was there. Do you make a big splash? Do a lot of people know that you're there when you're facing one of your challenges? Because the story is told that Jesus actually knew that he was going into Jerusalem for the very last part of his life. And isn't it interesting that Charles Fillmore thought that that was the consciousness of peace? So when we look to the world around us today, do you have the consciousness of peace? Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. I traveled recently back to Orange County, where I was born and raised. And then I came to Ventura and lived about 20 years in Ventura. And then I went back to Orange County and ran a church for 17 years. And now I'm back in Ventura. So I just went back for the very first time after COVID. And as I was preparing to travel back, I was thinking about all the people that I hadn't seen in so long. It's been a year and 4 months. 16 months since I'd seen. And as I told people that I would be in town for the very first time, my calendar filled up to where I saw 12 or 15 people in 2 days. And as I journeyed there, I thought to myself, was I going to be able to be with people and not hug them? So I have been very respectful of the COVID directions, and I have practiced staying at home, being safer. I have practiced not hugging the people that I do see, which has sometimes been challenging for me. But I'm not a terribly demonstrative person. I have an excuse, a good one. My mother had active tuberculosis when I was born. So I know about being afraid of communicating or transmitting a disease, sharing a disease. And because my mother lived that way, she didn't touch me very much. She was afraid of giving her brand new firstborn child tuberculosis. So she was sort of standoffish. Well, when a tiny baby is raised with standoffish or non-demonstrative parents, they don't typically become demonstrative. So I've worked very hard at hugging in church. One of my grown children says, I would grow up to be a minister if it weren't for all that hugging. You ought to teach people to say namaste. Well, here we are, namaste. And I wondered, going back to Orange County, if it was hugging that was going to be the challenge for me. I hugged every single person I saw. I'm almost ashamed to say that because I couldn't hold my boundaries in my space. It'd been too long. I loved those people too much. And what a lesson for me that I missed being affectionate and physical, that I need to be together with people, to reach out to them, to be embraced by them. The very end of my journey was visiting another minister, and that minister had something interesting to me to say. She said, the very first time I heard, I love God, she said, oh my goodness, I love God too. And that is the call to ministry. But you don't have to go into ministry just because you love God. For the love of God would be to return to center and to look onto everything that happens in the world around us with the idea that all things are conspiring for a greater good. God is in charge. And even if the world does look weird or strange or unattractive or separate or isolating or depressing, for the love of God means perhaps we do the things that are difficult to do. For the love of God, perhaps I didn't hug people and I shouldn't have hugged people. For the love of God, all things are working together for a greater good. The brain scientists have an interesting observation. fMRIs are very expensive and difficult to do on a large experiment sample because they're so costly, and the experimenter has to incur the cost of having those kinds of MRIs. But they were very curious about God and the idea of God spot. Is there a spot inside the human brain that is the God spot that every person goes to? So they took a number of subjects, not a large, huge sample, not hundreds, but a small number of people, put them in an fMRI machine and asked them, where's God? Now, the interesting thing, they questioned the question because where means you're looking. But every single brain lit up all over the place differently, uniquely, and actually appeared to be looking inside the brain for God. Now, if they say Bob Sponge Pants, Bob Square, whatever his name is, Bob Square Sponge Pants, we all know that that's this little character that has a sponge on him and has arms and legs that come out of him. And the same spot in every human brain lights up in the same place. Bob Square Sponge Pants, or whatever his name is, lives in the same place in all of our heads, and God does not. So even though they said, where is he, the cartoon character, every brain lit up in the same place, and all those brains lit up in different places looking for God. Now, it could imply that God is everywhere, and as metaphysicians, we love that idea. It also could indicate that the human brain doesn't know where to find God. God isn't in one place. We believe that God is everywhere present, all powerful, all knowing, right here, right now, in me, as me, through me, because it is me, in me, as me, through me. Because God created each of us out of itself. Now, when we return to that connection, I like to look to the horizon every day. The horizon, where you see the end of the ocean meets the sky, automatically puts the human brain in perspective. I'm just a speck. That allows me to have kind of peace. I don't have to effort and struggle so much. There are people out there who do not believe in God, but they believe in something. They have faith, they have understanding, they believe in love, but perhaps they don't believe in God. But that might be the definition of what God is. In New Thought, we talk a lot about God is an existential life force. God is everywhere present. God is not Santa Claus that lives in the sky. But often when I have a challenge, when I'm faced with an obstacle, when I'm seeking the love of God, I want God to fix, to be a man outside of me that I can appeal to, or a woman outside of me that I can appeal to, that will give me the goods that I am seeking, rather than the idea that the infinite power and presence of pure spirit is within us in infinite ideas, in us in unconditional love, in us in peace that passes human understanding, not in us to fix anything, but in us to move through us to reveal a greater understanding. There's a story, an old teaching story called Carl's Garden. I love this story and I'd like to share it with you today. So Carl was an elder who was a member of a spiritual community in a town that had changed a great deal over his life. He had been wounded in World War II. In his late 80s, he responded to an ad at the church for someone to tend the garden. The minister was skeptical that Carl was elderly and that it might be too big of a job, but Carl wanted the job. So the minister allowed him, and Carl worked and enjoyed being at the garden most days. One day, in a neighborhood that had changed tremendously over the years that he lived there, it had gotten rough. There were drugs and gangs. One afternoon when he was watering the garden, a group of boys came along. They pushed him down. He had the hose. He offered them water. They laughed. They sprayed him with water. They robbed him. They took his retirement watch and his wallet. And off they went, laughing and joking and slapping each other and carrying on. The minister came out of the church and helped Carl to his feet. Carl said, "Oh, they're just boys," and he wasn't hurt. So he continued to water. Several days later, the boys came along again. Carl asked them if they would like a drink of water. This time they took the hose, they drenched him from head to toe, and off they went again, laughing, joking. The big tall one just leading the group of boys, laughing. Carl again brushed himself off, said, boys will be boys. So then a week or so later, Carl heard somebody come up from behind him. He stumbled, he fell, he turned around. There was the gang leader, the biggest of the boys. Carl was ready for an assault again. The young man simply held out his hand and helped Carl to his feet. And he handed him a brown, crumpled up paper bag. He said, "Most people get mad and we go around and try to pick on old elders because we like to see them get frustrated and upset, but you never got mad at us. You continued to offer us water. And even when you knew that we were tough guys and we could do bad things to you, you still simply offered us water. Somehow your kindness began to rob me of my night's sleep. I couldn't sleep thinking about you. What had made you kind and compassionate? Why weren't you afraid of us? I didn't want your old wallet and your watch, so I've brought them back to you." Carl opened up his wallet. There was a picture of his wife. All of his money was still there. He put his watch on, put his wallet back. Shortly after that time, Carl passed. When they had a memorial service for Carl, many people came, and the minister noticed the big, young, tattooed man in the back that was silent and no one knew. The next spring, the minister posted needing a gardener for the garden, and the young man came and applied for the job, said, "I guess this is mine to do if you'll have me." The minister was surprised, but took the young man out, gave him the keys to the shed, That young man worked for many years, went to college, got married, became someone known in the community, and one day came to the minister and said, I'm going to have to let go of my job. I have loved working here. It has meant a lot to me, and I have grown by Carl's kindness. But my wife just had a baby, and she brings him home on Saturday, and I'm afraid I don't have the time to be working in the garden. And the minister said, and what did you name your new baby? Carl. For the love of God, let us move beyond all the things that don't look right, that we have opinion and judgment on. Let us find our love of God that is so great that it passes human understanding, allows us to take the journey into the consciousness of peace where we are joined together for the greater good. This is a precious time of year. Let each of us know we are precious children of the Most High. Thank you for choosing church.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light
Oh my goodness. We have 2 new stars shining in the Unity musical galaxy. That was an amazing performance by our new little singer, Campbell, singing Count on Me. And let's also give a shout out to that adorable dog, Norman. And Smitty and Julia, thank you so much to you and the Unity Band for your ongoing musical genius. We are so blessed to have such talented musicians at our church. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Reverend Paula, thank you for this wonderful reminder on how to put our love of God first in our lives. I know that everyone who watches this sermon will be inspired as well. So thank you. This is a time in our service where we offer our gifts to the place where we are spiritually nurtured, Unity of Ventura. When you practice the spiritual principle of giving to the place that uplifts and spiritually feeds you, you jumpstart the spiritual law, the spiritual principle of divine circulation, that giving and receiving, allowing your highest good to come faster and easier. So, by supporting the place where you're spiritually fed, you also enable that unity message to keep on going. And in turn, offering hope and spiritual sustenance to others. So here's a little pop quiz. Are you ready? How can you donate to Unity of Ventura? Right. First, you go to our website, www.unityofventura.org, and you push that big orange button and you're guided through how to give. Or, right, second, you can drop a check or a money order in the mail, sending it to our mailing address. What's number 3? Yes, you can use your bill pays, your bank's bill pay service. Easy for me to say, huh? And don't forget, number 4, using Amazon Smile whenever you order online. We get a small percentage of all eligible purchases. So just know that whatever method you choose, in whatever amount you are guided to give, we are so grateful for your support. Thank you. Let's take a moment now to turn inward. Go inward to that place where God indwells you, where you and God are one. And as you rest, it's from that sacred space I invite you to consider the following statement. I give willingly, joyfully, and lovingly. I give willingly, joyfully, and lovingly. And as that statement resonates within you, please hold your own gift in your mind and in your heart as we bless it with our offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I receive. Let's say that together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I receive. Yes, it is. Oh, sweet Spirit, we just take this moment to acknowledge and bless the gifts that are offered here today and every day. The gifts that have been given so willingly, so joyfully, so lovingly. We affirm that these gifts are used to further the will and the work of God through this ministry. We acknowledge and bless each giver, knowing that they have been open and receptive to God's guidance, and that they have given to us from a place of loving kindness and generosity. We know, dear God, that you are richly blessing each giver in return in magnificent and wondrous ways for sharing of their prosperity with us. And so it is. Amen. As we begin to close our service today, we extend great thanks once again to Reverend Paula Swavely for her lesson. I am very touched and I thank you. We also give a big shout out to Campbell and Norman the dog, and to Smitty and Julia and the Unity Band for their ongoing musical inspiration. And I tip my hat to the technical genius and the fortitude of Smitty West, whose behind-the-scenes magic enables us to offer these services to you every week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But most of all, I extend heartfelt thanks on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the entire congregation for you, for your presence here, because it would not be Unity of Ventura without you. And now, before we go, I got two quick announcements. First is a very deep and warm and heartfelt invitation for those of you who are watching online live on the Zoom session to please join us in our spiritual salon right after church. This is a wonderful time of fellowship and support and laughter. So give yourself the gift of community just for a few more minutes. You will not be sorry. Finally, if you or anyone you know is in need of prayer support, please contact our church. The prayer minister's mission is to be of support to you, to hold that high watch for you. So you can call or email the church. The prayer ministers will take your confidential prayer request into their daily prayers. If you want to call back, we're happy to do that. But just know you don't need to do it alone. And so, we conclude our service today by singing the peace song and joining together in the prayer for protection, and by inviting each of you to join us again next Sunday. Till then, God bless you and thank you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous love. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us.
The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.